Yo, I feel like Goji Center just posted the craziest video like ever, like that, like what happens when Pacific Rim Jaegers face off with Godzilla Titans. Are you serious? That's gonna be the most insane video ever. I feel like it's like Christmas. I ate a lot of pre-workout before this in anticipation, but I feel like I should go eat more in honor of an epic video. I should just go eat a buttload, shouldn't I? Okay, I hear it. I sound like I have an issue. No, I don't wanna die. All right, whatever. Either way, this looks awesome as hell. Check out Goji Center, link down below to get them to 1 million so then they make better and better videos. If these guys have millions of subs, their sponsors are paying way more, which means way better animated stuff. So yeah, it's a chain reaction. And leave a like, subscribe, and let's do it. Epic intros, beautiful stuff.
What if Jaegers made themselves present in the Monsterverse?
Oh my god.
In this episode, we will analyze different scenarios where these giant mechs dared to wage war against these types of kaiju. But not just any monsters. Today, we will feature not just one, but 3 different titans.
Woo!
Kong, the G-Man, and Mecha Godzilla.
Just before this starts, I want it on record. Each of these could absolutely vaporize every single Jaeger in the entire Pacific Rim franchise without any effort whatsoever. Like none. All right.
All with different combat philosophies, weapons, and objectives that would make each scenario unique. If this is your first time here, please remember to follow or subscribe to our channel to be the first to see epic kaiju fight content. Coming up, Pacific Rim Jaegers in the Monsterverse.
Woo! This is exciting. This is
Before
exciting
we start,
moment.
we want to quickly show you another way you can take control of the battle, and
This is
that's
Raid?
with our sponsor, Raid Shadow Legends.
Hell yeah, dude. Raid sponsors pay like a mofo. At least they used to. In my experience, I haven't done one in a while because they got mad at me. I kept making balls jokes and they hate that, dude. But if you guys play Raid, or if you're ever curious or you want to see crazy monsters, check out and support their sponsor on this video because like I said before, the more they make in sponsors, the crazier animations we will get.
Oh, let's see some Jaeger action.
Woo!
Before we throw our Jaegers against our Monsterverse kaiju,
Yes, Obsidian Fury here. Obsidian Fury is my favorite Jaeger by far. I'm so
we
happy
need
he's
to
here.
first understand what these things really are, why they were built, and how they physically compare
Huzzah!
against Monsterverse Titans. These mechanized giants are featured in Pacific Rim. In this cinematic universe, Earth is attacked from within by super intelligent alien life forms that unleash massive sea monsters via underwater portals and attack populated areas. After seeing that nuking these creatures only led to self-destruction, the United Nations greenlighted an initiative to build massive human-shaped mechs, which would leverage human mobility, dexterity, and intelligence, and amplify these abilities on a larger scale, enough to fight monsters in hand-to-hand combat. By fighting them in this manner, humanity would no longer have to use nukes and destroy their own cities. Building these could come at a massive cost, however. For example, just one of these could cost up to $100 billion, and some are rumored to
Sheesh.
cost a lot more.
I feel like I've always maintained in this franchise what would be better than giant mechs is just some orbital satellite mega space laser like the one they use in Invincible. You know what I mean? It's in like a lot of franchises. Just like a mega laser that comes down from the sky. If you could just precisely pinpoint that on a kaiju's head, that seems to be the best. And they can't even get to it, bro. They can't go to space. I'm a genius.
How big are these compared to Monsterverse kaiju? These Jaegers varied in size from 230 to up to 280 feet in height.
Little
in
fellas.
terms of weight, these were a lot lighter than anticipated. Now, admittedly, the official weights for these Jaegers are all over the place. Some ranging from 2,000 tons to up to 7,000 tons.
Those are both 7,000 tons is like, that's like Godzilla's foot, bro.
For the purposes of making these as realistic as possible in this video, we will align with the higher end figures provided. By comparing the physical proportions of an average Jaeger to our Monsterverse opponents, we have a massive gap in terms of weight and height.
Jesus,
meaning
man.
that it would be illogical for a single Jaeger to successfully defeat any of these 3 titans with ease. All 3 of these titans, especially Mecha Godzilla, would have a massive height advantage over any of these Jaegers. Not to mention that a single swipe of these extremely heavy kaiju would pack enough force to destroy a Jaeger with a single hit.
Kong kind of stands like Elon Musk, right?
Especially since all of these kaiju here have some serious upper body strength. The only way to make these scenarios at all interesting will be by assigning a number of Jaegers to take on these kaiju. Not a 1v1 match, but a squad of these to carry on an assault against our Monsterverse contestants.
I feel like that's fair, because a lot of the times they'd use multiple mechs against the Jaeger anyways. Like, that's completely fair in my eyes.
Now that we have a clearer picture of how these Jaegers could perform, let us now start analyzing our first battle scenario. Number 1, Jaegers versus Kong.
Oh,
we will begin with a kaiju whose best strengths include high problem-solving skills, high dexterity, mobility, and weapon-wielding capabilities.
just before in my opinion, Kong is going to absolutely brutally slaughter all 3 of them with leisure.
Defeating a titan such as this will require immense upper body strength and definitely handheld weapons that can counter its own. Fortunately for the Jaeger program, it has a plethora of mechs with different types of handheld weapons that could possibly aid in inflicting damage to Kong. By housing humans inside a mech, this will allow these pilots to literally know what it would feel like to fight Kong just as if they were fighting another human. Except Kong is far superior. Compared to an average Jaeger build, Kong is much more robust, wider, and not only that, he has proven to be one of the most intelligent titans in the Monsterverse.
Not to mention, he's like an ape, dude. Like, pound for pound, they're basically completely shredded muscle. They're just like, that's why they could like throw themselves through trees with leisure, whereas we could barely do like 10 pull-ups. I could do many more than 10, but you know what I'm saying? Had to throw that in there. Like, look at those scrawny robot arms, dude, against Kong. Look, Kong's forearm. Kong's forearm has more muscle than the entire human race combined.
In terms of combat ability, almost as intelligent as a human. Knowing this, we can rule out the possibility of a single Jaeger defeating Kong. We will need a lot more.
It'd take like 50.
For this specific fight, we think the most important factors to consider is 1, dexterity,
4
2,
is interesting,
mobility, and 3, intelligence. In terms of dexterity, both humans and Kong will be able to wield handheld weapons. Kong just happens to be a master at this sort of thing. Once vastly outnumbered, an intelligent titan like Kong would quickly look for anything that would give him the edge before he engages in close combat. Anything such as his axe, for instance, would immediately give Kong the edge in handheld weapons.
Oh, for the love of God, look at this. He's gonna vaporize him. He's gonna absolutely destroy. So those are the 4 Jaegers we get to see. Obsidian Furies. I guess like the fire on Obsidian Fury might come into play. I don't know, dude.
As there is absolutely no weapon possessed by any Jaeger that could successfully counter this axe. This weapon alone is estimated to be approximately 207 feet in length, more than 2/3 the length of the largest Jaegers.
Jesus!
Imagine someone hurling an extremely heavy axe at you. The result would be catastrophic. This weapon, with these swing speeds, would be able to send a single Jaeger flying or potentially cut it in half. Dispatching Jaegers in this form would only mean that Kong would quickly be able to render down a squadron of Jaegers to half their number. In order to defeat Kong, the remaining Jaegers would have to resort to their numbers and strategy. One thing that Kong has a serious advantage over the Jaegers in is mobility. Now, it's important to note that not all of these are created equal. Some Jaegers, such as the Mark VI seen in Pacific Rim Uprising, were a lot more agile than its predecessors. But compared to Kong, these pale in comparison.
That's why I'm not even taking that. Like, there's like Ninja Jaeger, sure, but he's a giant ape. Like, nothing could, like, no ninja can compete with an ape.
Jaegers do not have a leap ability like Kong does, meaning that in terms of movement, Kong would easily be able to pick these off one by flanking them and taking them out on their weaker sides.
Seriously.
The only way to defeat this creature would be by teamwork and a clever use of some of their better weapons, such as the arc whip capable of lassoing Kong's appendages, disabling a limb for some time.
Oof.
Or furthermore, the use of a gravity sling, a weapon capable of hurling objects at Kong, leveraging centrifugal force. A constant barrage of objects hurled at a distance would potentially weaken this titan. But then again, Kong's ability to throw back these objects would cancel this out, leaving the Jaegers with little to no chance of defeating this titan.
You can just spear him in the face, dude.
With supernatural leaping abilities, immense strength, dexterity, and intelligence grants the Monsterverse its first win. Though realistically, if any kaiju were to side with humans, it would have been Kong. So in a real-life life situation, we would most likely never see this happen. Up next.
I didn't even think about that. That's so what happened. The Jaegers would team up with Kong, because Kong's awesome. Like, that little girl from Skull Island could grow up to be a Jaeger pilot, and Kong would fight alongside her. Oh my god! My own computer betrayed me.
If any kaiju were to side with humans, it would have been Kong. So in a real life situation, we would most likely never see this happen. Up next, humanity will face a titan who will voluntarily attack humanity if provoked. Number 2, Jaegers versus the G-Man.
I predict Godzilla's gonna absolutely slaughter all of them all without effort and with zero resistance, because he's Godzilla and they're just so flimsy. They're these little flimsy things. It's a miracle they even survive Pacific Rim kaiju on their own. And they mostly don't.
Crushing defeat against Kong, the Jaegers now have to switch their attention to a titan that, if provoked, could unleash calamity and destruction to all humanity.
You can't.
Godzilla.
The atomic breath is just, you can't do it.
A fight with a massive 390-foot tall kaiju with atomic weapons will be no easy task. Especially since this kaiju is a whopping 99,000 tons.
Yeah, dude.
More than 13 times the weight of a single Jaeger.
It's literally fighting tin cans. I can't even think of a possible way they could damage his skin. Like, Kong was only able to because he stabbed Godzilla with Godzilla.
Assuming Jaegers were actually that heavy. To put this into weight perspective, this would be the same as a 160-pound person fighting against approximately 13 overweight house cats.
Okay, personally, I would never harm an animal. I don't like this. I don't like this comparison. It's fine for them, but just I'm not gonna picture it in my head. I don't want to picture beating up cats, so I'm gonna picture beating up. I could probably take like infinite middle schoolers? I don't know.
Except you're armed with atomic ray weaponry, and they aren't. If you were a Jaeger pilot, you would now have the honor of being able to combat Godzilla in hand-to-hand combat at a larger scale. But you're not alone. Now, how would the Jaegers fare against such odds?
Oh, I'm gonna die!
Begin, let's bring out some of the most important factors to consider. Ranged weaponry, overall strength, and corporal builds. In the past, we have seen the G-Man go up against different enemies. In 1v1 confrontations, Godzilla proves to be a champion in single-hand combat. But against many foes, Godzilla will struggle a bit more.
Okay, but in all fairness, I feel like Male Muto himself could probably kill like 3 or 4 Jaegers just on his own.
This time, the G-Man will now face an entire squadron of Jaegers. So the best thing we can do to simulate the outcome is to think like Godzilla. We know this guy has a solid strategic acumen and will try to exploit any advantage he can before engaging in hand-to-hand combat. As Godzilla sees these approaching, he will most likely be met with a barrage of explosive weaponry. In response, Godzilla will deploy atomic breath and will attempt to wipe out as much of the opposing squadron as possible since he's severely outnumbered. Can Godzilla destroy Jaegers at range? Yes.
Absolutely.
This atomic blast is so powerful that against much lighter opponents, these would literally be sent flying or simply obliterated due to the blast.
Oh my god.
Seeing that long-range combat is detrimental, the Jaegers would have to close in and fight Godzilla as one. Which brings us to our next attributes, strength and builds. A 99,000-ton kaiju equipped with extremely strong upper and lower body strength would be able to easily dismantle the smaller Jaegers with ease.
I feel like that's not even counting his tail. I didn't mean to pause it when they were talking. I apologize so much, but like just his tail alone would vaporize them all so easily.
Its jaws and sharp-tipped claws. But a more devastating weapon against these Jaegers would be its tail.
Yeah.
This particular Titan would be more difficult to attack from the rear thanks to this weapon. We have seen this tail in action, sending Kong flying and even executing another Titan. A much lighter Jaeger hit by the tip of this tail, for instance, would instantly be sliced down the middle. Getting hit in the thicker section would make this Jaeger fair game to get smashed to pieces.
Jesus
or
Christ!
Worse, suffer a solid impact by the smaller dorsal plates. But will any of these weapons cause serious harm to Godzilla? Harm, yes, but serious, not likely. Godzilla's skin is capable of withstanding very high temperatures. Its thick hide helps mitigate deep flesh wounds, and a body so dense that it would be proportionally difficult to penetrate given that these weapons are very light compared to the G-Man's dense body. Almost like trying to cut through lead with a knife.
That seems impossible.
It would take an immense force behind the strike to cut deep. Another challenge is that most of these blades used by these Jaegers are superheated, meaning that if they do cut, these would most likely cauterize the wound, stopping any bleeding.
Wow, so the superheated blades make so much sense when cutting up like other Jaegers, hang on, because they slice easier, but yeah, you're cauterizing all the wounds on the kaiju that you're slicing up. Whereas I guess maybe it's better for Pacific Rim kaiju, but I don't know, dude. No one's even stabbing him in the balls. That's what you gotta go for.
As we can see, bringing down Godzilla at any proximity would be a difficult task even for an entire squadron of Jaegers. Almost impossible without taking heavy losses. Although fighting against Godzilla could be necessary on some occasions, Godzilla doesn't voluntarily attack unless provoked. The final monster on this list will attack without provocation. Number 3, Jaegers versus Mecha Godzilla.
I predict, once again, Mecha Godzilla is gonna absolutely obliterate them. The thing is, the franchises are just so uneven, but Goji Center deserves so much credit for even making it like, where it seems like an intense comparison between them all. Like this, so much work went into this, you can tell, because it's so easy to just say Godzilla could kill them all. He weighs like literally like 50 times more, dude. 13
we left
times.
This one till the end because this confrontation is interesting in different aspects. In many ways, both Jaegers and Mechagodzilla are very similar, both being controlled by a pilot or pilots via neural handshake, or in Mechagodzilla's case, psionic link. Mechagodzilla's pilot would basically have to enter a transitory state in which his brain would intermingle with Mechagodzilla's AI, or more specifically, Ghidorah's consciousness. Both being very trippy processes, but not as trippy as kinda sharing a consciousness with a homicidal, three-headed, bloodthirsty killer.
Whoa.
In this scenario, we will have to take into account the mechanical and technological aspect of this battle, or war against Mechagodzilla. The factors to watch out for are ranged weaponry, melee weapons, and psionic infrastructure.
He's got this, dude.
Potentially entering the most brutal of these fights, given that Mechagodzilla is pure evil and is equipped with precisely the type of weaponry to exercise its brutality. Go check out this video to see what we're talking about. But first, let's draw up this scenario. A squadron of Jaegers advances to face off a massive 400-foot-tall Mechagodzilla. This titan almost doubles the height of the smaller members of this squadron, equipped with buzzsaw hands, industrial grinder jaws, spinning titanium blade tail, and a lethal proton scream. This battle will be nothing short of devastating. If you didn't know, Mechagodzilla's AI is built to resemble the G-Man's own thought processes, meaning that this standoff would probably resemble the one against Godzilla, with the mech figuring out that it would be better off by killing a good chunk of this squadron at a distance. This gets all the more interesting once this guy gets up and personal with the Jaegers. In terms of physical strength, we see that Mechagodzilla was up to par, if not stronger than a worn-out Godzilla and Kong at the end of GVK. Its supercharged punch was enough to send Godzilla through skylines, and its tail impacts enough to smack Kong to the ground. Jaegers? Easy, except that an evil pair of pilots would humiliate these Jaegers.
Dude, I'm having so much fun visualizing this. Mechagodzilla is like the most epic thing ever. I mean, Mecha 2021, because he is pure evil. This would be the most gnarliest fight ever. I've just been zoned out thinking of like the horror.
This animal's strong forelimbs would literally dismember the Jaegers one by one, resisting any missile barrages or impacts inflicted by less dense weapons. But the most devastating weapon of all is its scythed tail. One pierce of these tips is enough to put any of these smaller Jaegers out of commission in seconds.
It looks like
but
Jesus.
How would humanity defeat Mechagodzilla?
Oh, well, I am the ass of the Jaeger. That's overkill, buddy.
Although it has become clear that beating this mech with Jaegers is almost impossible, we must remember that Mechagodzilla was also human-built, and that there are also other forces at play here.
Oh,
no, not like this, though. Up in the heights of outer space, there is supposedly a satellite which transmits psionic signals or commands back down to the mech. This network allows the pilot and Ghidorah to control the mech remotely without them having to be housed inside the mech itself, meaning that a well-targeted missile strike to any of these two locations would cause necessary disruptions for this thing to lose contact, lag, or even shut the whole thing down.
Well,
Jaegers fortunately don't require a satellite uplink to relay commands, which is their most important edge against this particular mech. But shutting down Mechagodzilla is not guaranteed. On the contrary, if this network's architecture was built in such a way that it allowed it to go rogue instead of shutting down, humanity would have instigated an even bigger problem by having to deal with Ghidorah's consciousness as the one and only pilot of this killing machine. Do you think humanity can stand a chance against any of these kaiju?
that is trippy though. Like, there is a satellite. There was ways to stall it. Obviously, once it takes control itself and they're no longer linked, that probably isn't a thing. But at the moment though, that would have worked. That's trippy though. There was a way. There was a way they could have won. Realistically, I think we could. I mean, like, we're America, damn it. We would just nuke Godzilla until the whole planet's under attack. We would destroy Earth and therefore killing Godzilla. But I don't think it'd be wise. It'd be pretty stupid. This video was incredible. I love how they were able to do this. Those fights were so epic looking, and even though the kaiju would necessarily always win, it's still beautiful to visualize like the whole thing laid out. God, I love this channel. Make sure to subscribe to them if you guys haven't already, or go watch the actual video that's linked down below. Leave a like, subscribe, and I'll see you later.